I don't think you take ground balls anymore. So there's a fun goal. A lot of players signed it, and real neat deal. So these young men that play for the Cougars now, I'm sure they appreciate it that they're here. But when you play here, you don't look around at the beauty where the stadium sits. And we couldn't wait to get out of here to chase the dreams we had. But you come back here, it's a real special situation. Greg Kaatz, the son of Gary, can't be here today. And so I was asked to read this deal. It's kind of like putting Dan Miller in the leadoff spot. I don't know why they asked me. I don't read for sugar. You're going to see that in a second. And plus, I don't even have the darn thing to hold it. So anyway, we're going to work through this. Greg, there's a handful of guys that played college baseball from Gary's programs. And Greg was one of those. And he probably, I believe, had to be the most successful in regards to after high school play, because he actually made it to pro baseball. He played a year of independent ball. I believe that's the only cat so far that has played in minor league baseball. So he couldn't be here today. He's an assistant principal down in Arizona, in Peoria, Arizona, where the Mariners train. And so he can't be here. So here we go. This is me at my best. Good afternoon. My name is Terry Boxlander. My class was in 1980. We did not play here. We played down there. You see all this grass? There was not one blade of grass anywhere. It reminded me of my first job that I had at Republic. I went in for the interview, walking across the parking lot. I see the school car. It says, kids first. And all of my life being a Curlew, we had such good leadership. All we had to do was listen. So I was thinking, okay, finally I'm going to be in position to be number one. And no, kids first. I'm back to number two. So that's kind of how it's been the rest of the way. On behalf of Curlew High School and past alumni and the community of Curlew, I'd like to welcome you to today's baseball field dedication in honor of Gary Kaatz, who coached here from 1973 to 2000. Well, David, it's your turn, baby.
Hi, I'm Dave Chavez. I graduated with Greg Kaatz, and I played for, obviously, Mr. Kaatz. Apparently, the story of this field began in '81. The creation of what you see today is about the players, but mostly about the coach. Structure, discipline, the way he impacted everybody's lives. Some of us didn't really get it until later, but, you know, our kids got it. A couple of stories just to provide a little glimpse of motivation behind Coach. More than once, we show up, especially these two that I'm talking about. We show up for structured baseball practice. Everybody knows Mr. Kaatz always had those Post-its. Always had Post-its. Well, we show up one day and there's no baseballs, there's no bags out, but there's a ton of hammers, some nails, a lot of ply, or 2x4, and some slats for building the fence. And that's what we did for practice, we built the fence. Another one, Mr. Kaatz would have anybody had a truck, bring in their truck, and we'd dig dirt to fill what used to be all grass, except for the bases. That's the way it should be, but anyway. Regardless of how hard it was, the work that we thought we were doing, it really wasn't that hard. We all complained, but we didn't complain out loud, because we knew we didn't want to complain out loud. And that was just a couple of, the batting cages. I remember we put those up, fence, just always had to pick up rocks, rake bases. Anybody who played Mr. Kaatz knows you rake bases. Everybody had a job, everybody had structure, and we were very successful because of Mr. Kaatz, for sure.
Thanks, Dave. It's kind of fitting we're playing Northport because Scott Day,
They didn't like me.
back in the day, Scott Day was the dude. And they had the Burke brothers, Strybecks. They were tough. Republic and Curlew and Northport battled out. And, it was always tough that way. One thing about this, we didn't play on this field, but we were down there, and I don't know how we came up with the neat idea that because Coach Kaatz from the old school, we'd get in cleats, we'd run along the side of the shoulder of the road all the way down around here and then up to the field. That's how we warmed up every day. But we didn't like that mile for nothing. I mean, it really wasn't too cool. And so through our years, we kind of got to where once in a while, Coach would kind of talk with us. It wasn't always top down. It was sometimes just not as steep. So we one day asked him if, hey, we got a great idea, Coach. How about we're tired of the mile, we run up and touch that third pine tree on the hill 3 times. Well, he was pretty smart. We were not very smart. And after we did that one time, we realized we got a bad deal. And we got that bad deal for 20 or 30 years before this district had too many complaints about liability. The problem going up, yeah, it was a problem going up. It was so steep you had to use some of the smaller trees because they were all small at the time as little handholds. The problem with some athletes was coming down. They'd get going too fast and go hind end over T-Kennel. And I think that's where they got rid of that job.
Got lucky because we had to run the mile and 5 hills.
Yeah, and anyway, you can't see that tree because I was looking at that today. There are tons of them up there, and I couldn't figure out which one it was that we'd have to take care of. Coach Kaatz, for some reason, like I said, we had no grass. That field down there at that end, there was an old sawmill right here, from what I understand. Correct me if I'm wrong. We were still finding sawmill parts out there as we were playing. But Coach would drag that thing up, he'd chalk it up, and it was kind of pretty. It was a pretty nice situation. We knew it was baseball season around here because too much information, but sliding, your sheets were sticking to your hind end all the time at night when you're sleeping. So it was kind of a rough situation. The big thing he did too is, for whatever reason, he had this big forward vision about baseball, and all the kids wanted to play for him. There was no reason to want to come here. Not a lot of equipment, no cages. We had these Adirondack bats, or like toothpicks. And then when we were juniors or seniors, we got a Green Easton that had a 2 5/8 barrel. It was a pretty good sized barrel. And everybody on the team used the same bat. And BP, same backstop, the other way down here. You got 10 hacks a night, and that was it. So we had no idea how good it could become until years later, when he got that twin cage situation going and live short stuff out on the field. Man, guys could hit.
89.
And he brought some guys through here. The program's really jumped. Hitting's a big deal. And he really turned things around and got kids excited about it. Okay? Just that quality experience of having a vision, teaching us the importance of counting baseballs. And we asked him why. Well, maybe I could buy you guys some nice things if we don't have to buy baseballs every year because you guys lose them all the time. All kinds of things like that. Which brings up the point, he was cutting edge guy. Curveballs. Remember the curveball deal? Yeah. So anyway, Coach got these curveballs where a third of it's cut off there. And so he gave us a lecture about how to hit curveballs. And that was a great lecture. I really liked it. And it was spring break, which during spring break in our day, you practiced 3 or 4 hours with it, and it was cool. And we liked it. Well, I was leadoff hitter at the time, and we were going live BP, and Coach was supposed to go practice with these curveballs and learn how to throw them himself. Well, he told us to stand there. It's going to come right at your head, hang right in there, but it'll break. But it did not break. And the pitching machine balls are really soft nowadays compared to those things. And it hit me right here in the bill and ran the bill of the thing right through my head. I fell on the ground and the whole plate got covered with blood. Wally Nichols was the catcher, and he goes, "Hey, dude, you're bleeding." The coach took me to Republic. He just said, "Get my truck." It's the first thing he said. No towel, no nothing. I get in the truck. He drives to Republic. I don't get taken care of right away. We come back. We come around the corner over here, and he's looking out there, and the kids are all still in position, but they're sitting down. What a weakness. He says, "That's why you guys will never win." Anyway, we could tell many other ones like that one, but we don't want, these guys got to go play. So, Shavi, take us to the finish line.
So for a lot of us growing up, some of us, family lives weren't the best, one included. And Mr. Kaatz was always there. Whether you liked it or not, he was authentic, real, told you exactly what you needed to hear, didn't beat around the bush around anything. Just really authentic and genuine. And I truly believe especially as I've gotten older. You know, I didn't really get the message that Mr. Kaatz and a lot of Curlew teachers were putting down, but I'll tell you who did, my kids. They got all of it, and they're doing very successful. So, you know, with that, so when you arrive at Curlew, see Kaatz Field sign, always remember that it represents years of players who learned, worked, and succeeded playing a game for a man that they seriously respected. Whether they knew it or not, later in life, you do. Who taught his players that it doesn't matter where you start or how little you have, you can work, you can build, and you can succeed. Today, it's our honor, all of us, to present the field to Mr. Kaatz.
One more thing is, I think we're on the right track here. You know, Coach was not all about end results. It wasn't about winning. It was like doing it right for 2 hours a night. And to get that process in place.
You only had to go 2? We went from 3 till dark.
Actually, we went till 4.
Dark 30.
Anyway, these guys are on the right, but look at them. They look sharp. Sam's got the field looking sharp. I mean, they're on the right track. Give those boys a hand. And good luck to the rest of the season. And you know, some days you might only win 2 or 3, but you're doing the right thing. Hang out here. Get the younger kids going. You'll be in good shape. Thanks much.
You know, I'll tell you what, real quick, when I was, as soon as I graduated, I went to Kodiak, Alaska. I got stationed up there in the Coast Guard. 2 people I ran into. Scott Kirkendall. I don't know, he was from Reardon. He knew about Curlew baseball and the baseball field, and he was a 84 or something like that graduate. A Lebret from Reardon. Here recently, we've been talking to him. They all knew about Curlew's field. By far the nicest field from here. You had to get to Spokane Indian Stadium before there was a better field, and everybody that you talked to, at least in my generation, knew it. We were all just proud to be here. Still to this day, I play baseball for Mr. Kaatz.
Hey, you got anything you want to say?
Let's get us up there with